Hi, I'm Danny Elliott, and this is First Time for Everything, a podcast where I talk with really interesting people from all walks of life about their first time doing something. These people started out just like you and me, interested in something and wanting to try it. Maybe they were a little bit scared, but something in them made them take that leap towards their dream. I really hope these conversations inspire you to step out of your comfort zone and go after whatever it is you've been wanting to do. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be talking about your first time soon. Hey first timers, today I'm so excited to have my friend and badass interior designer Kate Mills on the podcast. Kate is the co-founder of one of the most popular vintage shopping destinations in Nashville, Old Made Good, and has designed the interiors for famous national music venues and other popular shops such as Marathon Music Works, Exit Inn, Jackelope Brewing Company, Parlour Juke Salon, and lots of more really cool places around Nashville. One of the things that draws clients to Kate is her expert use of color and her innate ability to create a space that's uniquely representative of her clients. She's one of the funniest, most talented, curious about the world, big-hearted people I know, and if you don't know and love her already, you definitely will by the end of this episode. Enjoy First Time Personalizing Your Space with Kate Mills. I'm so excited you're here. We'll just jump on in. For everyone who will be listening to this, this is the wonderful, the badass, the hilarious, one of the loves of my life, Kate Mills.
Oh, wow. Thanks. Thank you.
I'm so excited that you're doing this, and thank you so much
You're
for
so welcome. I'm
being
so
here.
always shocked that you even care to talk to me, but let's just keep it up.
We need to work on that because you shouldn't be shocked because you're wonderful.
Well,
So,
listen, I have 3 teenagers, so it's just my default setting. No one
sure,
wants
that's
to hear
fair.
what I have to say. No one cares. So my mindset is always like, oh, someone's paying attention to me. Someone wants to hear what I say. How weird.
That is
It's been like
totally
10 years of like going down that road with 3 different people. So, okay, I'll get out of that headspace for now.
If you wouldn't mind, can we give the people a little brief history of Kate? Like, just tell us about yourself.
I currently do interior design and I'm self-taught, which is probably the only interesting thing about it to me, because you can throw a rock in, find an interior designer, a graphic designer, or musician. It's Nashville.
It's true.
So that's kind of what I'm doing. I feel like I'm kind of uh maybe phasing that out a little bit or like slowing that down, and but that's about what I do now. And then my personal thing, I have 3 children who are kids who are going off to school. One's in college, one's going to college, and then the next year one's going to college. So I feel like it's just a very transitional time in general where I'm like, and we're planning on moving out of Nashville, so it's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So it's weird to like describe myself right now because I'm just kind of like,
She's
not really
evolving.
sure. Yeah, maybe. Who
Yeah,
knows?
no, I feel like I'm getting you at a really interesting time because we've talked about this with, the name of the podcast is First Time for Everything, and I feel like you're
Right.
about to jump into a lot of new first,
Yeah, maybe.
which is really exciting, I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, I thought today, Kate and I were we were having lunch like a few months ago, and we were talking about just color and like the lack of color in kind of like modern interior design. I feel like I see color more in like high-end interiors. In like things you would see in design magazines like Domino or Architectural Digest or something like that. But I feel
Right.
like in the popular kind of just average American home, everything feels very like blech, and just beige, black, white. And
Neutral.
yeah, it's super neutral. And you are to me like the queen of color, and you're so awesome at using it and making it work and making it feel really good and making it really personal to people. And I know that a long time ago, Kate and I are working on a show together as well. That we're working on many iterations of the show. But one of the things we had talked about was kind of like your journey into kind of finding your personal style,
Right.
and also subsequently helping other people find their personal style. But I remember you had said in another season of your life you had lived in like a typical house with typical
Right.
colors and typical furniture, and like what was the turning point for you, the moment where you kind of woke up and became aware of your surroundings and were like, hey, I think I could do something other than what I've been doing?
I don't know that there was a moment, but like the moment, but I remember a moment, which would be my first home was very cookie cutter, terrible, like horrifying. I did try to use color, but I used all like butter yellow, no offense, wine, which maroon is my most hated color on earth, although I love oxblood. Just the wrong things. And I
Yeah.
guess looking back, whatever, but it's more like I got all my furniture from American Signature, or I can't even think of what would have been, and I think our parents bought it for us because furniture was so expensive. I wouldn't have even thought about an antique store or thrifting. But years later, so the moment that I'm thinking about, Henry and I went to Wonders on Woodland, which is in East Nashville, and we bought the most random piece of art, and it was actually a huge, it had to be like 5 by 5. It's kind of a 3D thing, but it was an elephant, and the elephant had a hole cut out, and it like sat back on a mount, like so for the floor. So it was like a circus game, like an old vintage circus game. But like the trunk came out and the legs kind of came out under the frame. And I just remember seeing that thinking, that is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. And I want to hang it on a wall. And that was, if I had to pick a moment, it was going into Wonders on Woodland. And when I walked in there, now that I have experience taking, I don't take a client unless we go to an antique mall first, so I can, kind of get a read on their style. But most people always say that they get really overwhelmed with all the stuff in antique malls.
Yeah.
And for me, it is so calming, and I have ADD off the charts. So for me to like pick everything up and think about where it's been and the history and shit I've never seen, that is the most exciting thing for me. So that was the turning point of how I saw art and I guess decor, really.
I love that. That was such
Thank
a
you for having me, Danny. Bye, everybody.
That's all, folks.
Hope you guys enjoyed that.
That was such a great store. I used to go in there all the time, because it's not there anymore, right?
It's there, but it's, open maybe like every other Sunday during the winter solstice
Okay.
when the fucking moon is in
Sure.
the crescent phase, who fucking knows. But that used to be like, to me, that's kind of the first mothership, because it's the first place I went, and then Gaslamp is like,
Yeah.
the jam. But that really, to me, I've got a lot of pieces from Wonders on Woodland, and it just was like, it opened my eyes to like, whoa, where the fuck has this been? Why
Yeah.
have I been going to Target? What's this? What's Pier 1? What's,
Mhm.
just all the like big box things. And at that point I was probably 32 or something. And I've said this to you many times, but I'd never been into a Goodwill or a thrift store unless I was going to get a Halloween costume or something. So I think something that's really important now, people think, well, I have to have this style, at this certain age, like everybody's just so cool and it just happens. And that's absolutely, it's just not true. You have to work at it. You have to find your style. And so
Yeah.
you have to go and take these adventures. And I think what's hard about now, how you're talking about domino and, the stuff, I'm in my late 30s now. Bullshit.
I love you.
But I think like, so I read magazines, all the interior stuff I would have ever seen would be magazines, but now it's Instagram. So I feel like there's this pressure to whatever is coming up in your grid, whatever they say is going to come up in your grid, more importantly, is kind of, I feel like that's the new box store, right? So
Yeah.
that's telling you, instead of TV or a magazine telling you, that it's Instagram telling you, hey, it's beige, it's neutral, it's boho chic, or, whatever it is. And I feel like people are taking that maybe as the gospel truth instead of looking into it a little further, because I guess the pressure just must be enormous to conform. That's something I don't personally feel. And I think that's only because I am older and I came about it in a different way, but it must be kind of soul crushing to look at these grids of these impossibly perfect places and feel like that's these people somehow have a magic that you don't have. That really pisses me off. That's something that I really can't stand.
I'm 100% on board with that. And it's funny because as someone who identifies as being kind of like aggressively independent,
Mhm.
um, in my thought process, and like I always want to have things that people don't have. If anything starts to
Yep.
become a trend, a lot of times I'm like, ew, gross. Like I want
Yep.
the total opposite of that. And everything in my life is like highly curated to the point where my husband is like, oh my God, can we please just relax and like go, like, I don't know, get one normal thing. But
Fuck you, Matt. No, we can't.
I, the worst.
Yeah.
No, but I even find myself, because as a like elder millennial, I feel like I have one foot in
Wait, I
the
think you might have just renamed your podcast.
right. I stole that from Eliza Schlesinger. But I have one foot in that sort of like old school, tangible, hard copy world, and one foot
Yeah.
in the digital world. And I feel like I was better at kind of identify when I was being subliminally messaged to when it was coming from TV. But for some reason, because I'm interacting and scrolling on Instagram, it feels like it's more of a choice for me, but it's still sending subliminal messages, and it feels even stronger because it part of me feels like it's a choice that I'm receiving this information, and part of me feels like it's not a choice because it's part of the algorithm. But I even find myself, because of the frequency of use of social media, like thinking to myself, well, the only way to live is to get a $3,600 interior defined couch, and with like a pet stain resistant fabric, and like
Yeah.
I really want to have this in my space, and I have to like snap myself out of it and be like, girl, who are you? Like, who is
Yeah.
this? Why are you letting yourself succumb to this kind of messaging, which is not true, also outside of your means, like, and also you
Yeah.
don't have to spend that much money on a couch in order to have something that you really love, that makes you feel good in your space, and I
Mhm.
think a lot of people probably get sucked up into that. And I mean, I don't know, do you think it's just easier for people to kind of look at a lifestyle being modeled for them instead of them having to kind of do some soul searching and think, what do I truly want
Yeah.
out of this space?
I think part of that comes from maturity, because you just kind of learn, when you're in your first spot, I think that's a natural inclination. But I think the dangerous part of the other is the Instagram and, I guess, influencers or whatever they are. My favorite, Christina on the coast, and Chip and Joanna. Love them. It's a kind of herd mentality that I think is dangerous. And I don't go on Instagram. You can telephone each one of my children or ask them in here individually, and they'd say, what does your mom say about Instagram? And I say, I'm only on Instagram for myself. Meaning I'm doing it to stay alive,
Mm,
in terms of business, to get
yeah.
like scrounge up a client every now and then, because I don't advertise, never have. So it's to post shit like that. But I never, since this algorithm, people that I know aren't even in my feed. I don't even know where they are. I don't understand it. So I'm not on there being, I used to go on there to see what my friends were doing, and now I don't know where any of them are. And I don't even know what is in my feed, but it's nothing I care about. So I
Mm,
don't have that endless scroll thing, because I don't give two shits about it. So I'm
yeah.
just posting my content and then getting off of it. But I think the dangerous thing with the endless scroll is, I think it does kind of shape you and, put you here and then make you think, well, also because everything's shoppable.
Hmm.
So, hey, now I can just click this and it's all going to show up here. And that's fucking dangerous,
Yeah.
in and of itself, because, you know, also the spaces that I create, that it is hard work. You don't just waltz around and like the couch of your dreams is just at Goodwill,
Yeah.
or this antique store, like I'm lucky that I've been doing this for over a decade and I've got a warehouse full of cool shit, but it is a job and it is something that you have to work at, so it's also easier and it's a matter of convenience of just, oh, I'm just going to click a button. I don't want to borrow a friend's truck. Like all of that's true, but I will never forget the best couch that I've ever had that we just had to retire after 12 years, came from the Hendersonville Goodwill, custom upholstered, 1960. I mean, I saved the two pillows, but it was $50. It was pristine. It was this like red velour with like a leopard print, but just custom made, just everything, and like low profile in the tapered legs with the gold feet, and it was perfect, and it lasted 12 years with all kinds of pets and kids and God knows what. And now we have a fucking couch from Article that I hate because Henry, it's the one thing in this house he's got, everything else is just old and smells bad, but whatever. So it is work, and I understand like the ease of that because it really is hard. So like big pieces like that, I get it, but I think it just gets easier and easier until you are just compliant. And I think that that's a dangerous thing. So I think an easy way to start that is through art, and I think if I'm known for anything interior wise, it probably is gallery walls. That's an easy thing to do in terms of like, just go out. That's affordable. You can put it in the back of your car. You can fuck it up. It doesn't have to go right now. If it doesn't work, save it. It can go in any room in your house. You should be building a constant collection of art. So I think that's an easy way to dip your toe in if you're trying to find personal style.
That was my next question. So that's perfect.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
It's so great. It's just, guys, we could end this in multiple spots already. Yeah, I mean, it's
I just threw you off, didn't I?
you did a little bit because you're just such a great interviewee.
Yeah.
I thought you were actually going to say the best couch you ever purchased was the one you purchased for me, which is how we met via Craigslist.
That was a great couch.
A little hurt, but no, it's fine.
That wasn't technically my couch. It was for a job, so it couldn't be my favorite.
That's true. It also couldn't stay here because Tux would have ruined it. Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting what you were saying about had the herd mentality with design. I feel like that's so reflective of just like who we are in general. Like maybe we've always been this way. I don't know. Like
Who's we? What are you talking about?
I think like Americans or maybe just society at large. Like I'm not a sociologist, but it just feels like we're getting more and more into this kind of like herd mentality and kind of like thinking for ourselves, whether that is in regards to like design or in regards to like moral issues or political issues or even like COVID is becoming like very herd mentality. It feels really hard to pull yourself out of that. Like I'm sort of wondering how we even get people to get to a place where they realize they've fallen into this kind of pattern of like, oh, this visual feels easily digestible for me, so I'm just going to take it on. And I've even noticed that in my career in music. It's like there's so much shit music out there that does really well because it has a team of people behind it kind of pushing it into listeners' ears. Where it's like, well, why couldn't we just push interesting stuff into people's ears? Why can't we just pay for radio campaigns for really interesting music? And I sort of wonder the same thing with design. Like, I think to me, it feels like, and I'm not a design professional, but it feels like there's less.
What are you? So far, you're not a sociologist. You're not a design professional.
I'm an observer.
Why do you have a podcast? Jesus.
Because I like to talk. In the words of my grandmother, I'm a chacharón. So,
wow.
Doesn't
that mean you're a fried pork? A piece of fried pork?
I think it's chicharron.
Yeah, what did you say?
Chacharron. It's like an Italian American slang for like you talk too much.
Hey, chicharron. Hey,
chicharron.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I'm just wondering like how we kind of
get past that.
Yeah, get past that because it seems like there's only a select few kind of people, at least in my kind of
I can tell you how.
Tell me. Share it with us, please.
Well, I can tell you how I do it. I truly think that art, and listen, I don't know about art. I just know that I love art deeply and passionately. And I think dipping your toe into art, whether it be photography, paintings, sculpture, museum, subversive shit, bad shit, any of it, and then kind of going down that wormhole, art is something that has opened up my mind really to a degree that I don't think anything could have done it like that. A couch isn't going to do it. Putting a fucking plant over there is not going to do it. I don't support all these plants, by the way. I think it's just out of control. But that piece of art back there that I framed for Henry, that is from the Rose Bowl, the flea market out in LA. And I carried that around forever and framed it. But once you start looking at art, or like the elephant piece that I talked about, this ginormous fucking thing that used to be at a circus game, and you realize anything can be art, it opens you up to realize that anything can be anything, and more importantly, that you can be anything. And I got to become an interior designer because I could, and I believed I could, and I believed that I developed an interesting enough eye by looking around and seeing what was here, and then almost doing the opposite. I'm a lot like you. I don't want to have what you have. That has never been interesting to me my entire life, from the way I've dressed to whatever. That's just, I think that's maybe nature versus nurture. I don't know what that is, but I've always been just kind of my own weird person. But I think once you find something, and going to a Goodwill or an antique mall, when you talk visually, that breaks that beige box up. That allows you to look and explore. And so many clients that I take out have they gravitate towards something, and I generally make them buy something the first trip as their kind of trigger point, the thing that's going to start the whole design. And they never think or would have thought that they would have picked that thing. So it helps you look deeper. And actually what it helps you do is look. It helps you, wake up and look around and think for yourself, and get off your phone and wonder about who made this. Where's this been? What is this? The most thrilling thing to me is finding things that I have never seen before and have no idea what their purpose is. And maybe I'm just getting old, but that's thrilling to me. And with the invention of Google Lens, I can figure it out really fucking quickly. And I do love that as well. So it's like a mystery, but it does help break up the visual, monotony bullshit of beige and, shiplap. And so that's what I would say. I would say, start with art, pick up a weird book, go to a museum, something will click with you, and, and then you'll want to know more about the thing. And then you start buying the art, cheap art. Thrift store art is the best stuff. It's the most fun. And then the most interesting thing about you is actually you're blocking it. Move your big,
I know this
head. It's not the most interesting thing. But the thing is, then you kind of start making art. And not that I think that is art per se. God, it looks really small, but it's pretty gigantic.
I know.
So
I hate the perspective on the camera. It makes like this wall look very small, and it's
really weird. But anyway, that's another thing. Like, it took me, maybe 10 years to start getting the confidence to say, well, that's not anywhere. I don't see that. So I'm just going to make it. So that I started making mirrors or covering furniture in vinyl, or, making things that I didn't see on the marketplace. Not that I'm like, really looking, but that gave me the courage to do that. And then, so, I think it's a really good rabbit hole to go down, because not only you find your style, but then you kind of push yourself to evolve and create. And I think when you can get in touch with being a creative person, or I think everyone's innately creative. I hear a lot of people that say that they aren't, and I don't really know how to respond to that, because I don't know, maybe they're not, but I feel like once you find it, for me, it's changed my perspective on everything. I feel some, limitless in some things that I can do. And I don't feel like I ever have to listen to what people are telling me to do. What you were saying earlier, we've become a society of whatever. That will never happen for me, because I feel like being creative has helped me open up maybe channels, things that I have to think for myself in order to do what I'm doing. So I guess what I'm saying is all of that bleeds. Just even trying to find your own style by stepping into a thrift store and looking at weird art and saying, why the fuck do I want to buy this? But I want to buy this. Well, then buy it. All of that stuff just gradually starts changing who you are as a person. It honest to God does. It sounds ridiculous, but
No,
it gives you confidence to think for yourself. And that's, to me, the best thing being creative has done for me. Besides
100%.
making me a multi-thousandaire. Don't want to brag.
Multi-thousandaire. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like peeling the onion, and I think creativity is a muscle too. It's like the more
Absolutely.
you flex it, the more creative you become. I know when I was kind of at the peak of my songwriting career, I had gotten to a place where I could go into a session and just like fire out these song ideas. And, I haven't been using that muscle as much the last few years, and it feels like it's atrophied a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been using it in other ways, and I'm noticing it kind of get stronger in those ways. And I do feel like the gateway, at least, specifically in regards to interiors, kind of feels like the secondhand route, but I know, and one of my favorite things that you always say is everything we need is here.
Oh, yeah.
Like we don't ever need to buy anything brand new. And that doesn't mean like you shouldn't buy something brand new, but I think it's always worth looking for something that's here first. Just not to even be like an ideological, like eco-friendly like person, even though that's a great benefit. But I think
Right.
just for the character you find and the creativity that's going to open, it's like you find that like weird elephant piece of art, and then
Mhm.
it makes you start thinking like, oh, what else could I
Exactly.
but I think there's a lot of stigma around secondhand, and some people still kind of like look down their noses at it a bit, or like, I remember when I was a kid, even through my teenage years, I was raised in Goodwill because, my dad was making alimony and child support payments.
This is taking a turn.
I know it's going super left. But my family was like really broke, and we didn't
Yeah.
have any money. Like, not, I remember my mom even telling me a story about like she didn't even have a quarter to buy me baby food at one point. Like, they were that broke. So we would shop at Goodwill, and I remember I always hated it because it smelled like
Ugh.
mothballs, and it would make me sick, like nauseous. And I think I
You could take me to a certain Goodwill and I can tell you what Goodwill, I used to be able to do this, or what thrift store I was in by the smell. It is,
Yes, 100%.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
But I think that as I then became an adult and kind of, started life on my own and realized, wow, like I don't have any money yet. I need to shop out of necessity. It reframed it for me,
Yep.
and I started finding all these cool pieces that I would wear on stage for shows I had, and people would be like, "Oh man, like where did you find that outfit?" And I'd be like, "I got
Yeah.
it at Buffalo Exchange," or
Yeah.
and then you start to, I think when you start to get some positive affirmation
Yeah.
behind it, it
Gives you
helps.
confidence.
But I like, do you have any tips on kind of helping people maybe work through any mental stigmas they might have on that? Or do you think that's like I don't know, like deeper socioeconomic issue people might need to just like,
Get the fuck over.
yeah.
Yeah. Get over it.
Yeah.
It's, it's dumb. I just, again, I think it's the person that I am. I don't give two shits what people think about where I'm buying my furniture. I don't know why that would even come into somebody's mind, like, oh God, my neighbor. I mean, I'm not familiar with that. So I would, first of all, I'd say you need to take a deeper look into why you care what nobody cares what you're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Everybody
Yes.
cares about themselves. Nobody cares about you. Get the
Mhm.
fuck over it. Do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what you look like. Make it matter for you, some people you love, but the stigma is, no. The thing is, in a lot of these thrift stores, we're only saying Goodwill, but a lot of them are really, some of my favorite ones are like the little ones attached to a church.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to name names, but this
I
and
know.
that over on Charlotte, like
Yeah.
off of it, in the Nations, like those little places are just gems,
Mhm.
so they support, a church. But yeah, get the fuck over it. It's fine. No,
Yeah.
no one cares.
Well, I think it felt like maybe you're alluding to like you're not only just getting something cool for yourself, but you're supporting other places, like a safe
There's
haven.
nothing bad that's going to happen. There's
Yeah.
it's just the oldest, it's what your dad's going to say, like, if you buy a new car off the lot, it depreciates before you even leave. So, and also for me, like, antique malls are got the history of those pieces and the shit that's around that's like 100 years old and tough as nails, and someone built it with their hands. And to me, the older I get, the more valuable that is. But then you could really put me on a couch and psychoanalyze me, because a lot of these things, I don't just have a warehouse because this is my job. Like, let's be honest, I'm also a bit of a hoarder, and I have a bit of a rescue mentality that says, I cannot. Do I need this fucking 200th velvet painting? No, probably not. But I'm not going to leave this just sitting here. Like, obviously, I've got to save it. So I've got a problem with that. Like, I've got a brass problem. I've got a lamp. I've got a lot of problems. But they're beloved things, even though people have discarded them. They all have value and purpose. And I love to see them just reincorporated with character. It never gets old to me.
That's a
So,
really interesting point too. I think
which
from
one, Danny? Tell me.
oh, well, like from a psychology perspective, because I too have a bit of a savior complex when it comes to old, beautiful things. My
Mhm.
dad, or every weekend, I'm not even exaggerating when I say every weekend, my parents and I would go tag sailing in up north.
Tag sailing?
They don't call it tag sale, they call it yard sale
Oh,
here.
gotcha,
Um,
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
but garage sales,
Right.
whatever. And my dad would find these beautiful old antique pieces and then spend like weeks refinishing them. And
Mhm.
we have all these like gorgeous like buffets in our house that we had no business
Right.
having. Like if people would think that we just dropped 3 grand on this like beautiful antique buffet, and my dad's like, I spent $100 on it at a
Yeah,
yard sale and I refinished it, and now it's like, and that's something you and I have talked about too. It's like it's not just finding something that's cool, you're actually buying something that retains value.
sure.
And
It's
I
an
think,
investment.
yeah, and I think that could help hopefully destigmatize the idea of secondhand too. It's like you're actually getting a collector's item. And
Well, I think, yeah, and all these fucking TikTokers and YouTubers and all these lunatics that are like broadcasting all of it, no offense, but I think that's destigmatizing.
yeah.
My kids, when I was like at the height of my thrifting, because of the shop or whatever, and I had to, and it was my job, would they be caught dead in a thrift store with me? Absolutely not. And now, I mean, thrifting is just the best thing ever. So I think, social media, as terrible as it is, I think there's a whole section, if your algorithm is different, that kids are really growing up with knowing that this is okay, where I didn't. I had no idea it was even an option. So I do think that that's important, that young kids and teenagers know what's up. And I think that they do in ways that I never did.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's a generational difference with like younger millennials down like Gen Z, um, and younger who are much more receptive. I think also like the marketing feels like it's changed towards those crowds with apps like Depop and just like more
Yeah.
colorful, funky kind of things. And I think it feels like there's still just a little bit of a barrier with people kind of my age, like late 30s and older, who maybe think that like it's beneath them or something. But I do think that that feeling of coming across something that you just like feel drawn to and can't leave behind
Yeah.
is like when once you experience that, it almost is like a high and you're looking for it all the
Yeah.
time. Like, what's the next cool thing I'm going to find? And I totally am with you in that feeling of feeling really calm when I go into like a place like Gaslamp or an antique mall, and it just
Mhm.
kind of has this really, whenever I'm stressed, that's where I go.
Yeah. I feel the same way, like not leaving things behind though. Like if I see a vodka tonic, like I'm not gonna not
Can't
drink
lose
it.
it,
You know
you
what
know?
I mean? Like that last bottle of wine or the last glass.
Yeah.
You don't want to like
Do you want to
let
make
it
it
sit
feel
there.
left out, you know? It
Yeah,
should know that it's loved and appreciated.
absolutely. I think one other thing that you just said about people thinking that it's beneath them, I think that's fine. I think there will always be people who absolutely would rather eat shit on a stick than even think about used stuff. And I'm not talking to those people. I have no interest in those people. So, that's another thing. Just know it doesn't bother me because I say I don't want someone also coming in and telling me I don't want Joanna Gaines to try to convince me that shiplap is what's up. And I need to really get behind my grays. I know I'm making you so uncomfortable and I love
No,
every
you're
minute of
not.
it.
You're not at all.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, to each its own. So if people really do have a problem with that, then I'm not here to, change any of that for you. I'm here for the people that are receptive and curious. How
Yeah.
can I find my own style? Where is that? Because I just feel like I hate kids today. God damn, I sound like I'm 80 years old. But I think people look at Instagram and just think that it's perfect and that it just happens. And this, 22-year-old, like skinny blonde girl just knows how to decorate her house, and God knows what's happening behind the scenes. Maybe she does, but I don't know why I said 22-year-old blonde girl. That seems really weird, but it isn't like that. It takes work and time. And I practice all the time. I rearrange shit all the time. I don't know. Just never plan on knowing what you're doing. Just be open to figuring it out as you go. But you have to get out there. You have to hit that first antique mall. You have to grab that first thing that you see. And maybe it's not going to go up right away. Maybe it's going to sit in your closet for a month until you get another one. Collections are important to start with designs. It'll come to you, but it doesn't just show up. And I think that's the devil of social media, is that it's perfectly curated. And that's just bullshit. That just isn't true. So life is messy. Learning is messy. That is kind of what my design kind of allows, I think, for mistakes and creativity. And it's never going to be perfect, even though maybe the picture I post will look perfect. Oh my God, it's such a fucking nightmare of a mess to get to that point, legitimately. And that, you talked about this TV show we're doing, which I really think in my wildest dreams, I feel literally sick to my stomach to think of a TV crew someone in a room watching me, just like maniacally, like throwing shit around. And if the homeowners knew that I was standing on a crib, sorry, Ben and Christina, like with my dirty ass feet and like taking my shoe because I can't find my fucking hammer. And you know what I mean? Like, just probably stepped on their dog and God knows what. And there's literally just nails and thumbtacks and shit everywhere in their baby's room. Like, that's the stuff that's what really happens. That's really real life. And that's terrifying to expose via TV, probably. But that really is real life. And I think you have to keep that is what you have to talk about. It's these little grids that we are so used to. It's alarming. So I think being on the other end of that and knowing how dirty and smelly and hard and, just knowing the process. But once you involve yourself in the process and once you start doing it for yourself, then it's easy to look at that grid and say, oh yeah, I've got your fucking number. I know how long that took. I know it just didn't happen. So don't just look at it and think it just happened and that someone has something that you don't, because you got to work for it. All of us have to work for it.
Completely. That's a great like freaking life lesson too, even with my vocal coaching clients, they might plateau at something or they might have a hard time grasping an initial concept, and then they might get frustrated that they're not just great singers already. And I think because we just, like you were saying, see the finished product so often, we forget about the amount of work that goes into it and into anything like those, 10,000 Gladwellian hours that go into really getting good at something. And I think,
but how come we think, what, do you look at athletes or singers, and have you ever thought, like, did you ever wake up and think Tom Brady just was born a good football player or any athlete? Or do you like, what I'm getting at is I feel like when I think of athletes or, singers or something like that, I feel like inherently I understand and know that they worked really hard. I feel like that's just something that I don't know why I know it, but I know it. But I feel like we've tricked ourselves somehow in maybe in design and, how the way we dress and how we look, that just comes out and that's a talent and that's what it is. And there's no work involved. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that it needs to be a perspective shift to that. Design is a fucking job. You know what I mean? And looking so perfect and put together, all of that stuff takes work. And
Mhm.
I feel like we don't acknowledge that a little bit. I feel like people maybe don't want to acknowledge that. I don't know what
I
the
think
fuck they
part
want.
of it is that maybe we don't recognize we are capable of the work itself. I think that people I think people can rationalize, oh, it must have taken a lot of work for this person to get to this place in their life,
Hmm.
but I'm not capable of doing that. And I think that's where the shift needs
Yeah.
to happen, is realizing like, oh, I am capable of also creating a really interesting
Yeah.
space reflective of who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I am capable of putting the work in to become a great singer or a great athlete, or a great whatever it is you want to be, but then recognize that it is going to be messy. Like, I've gone to estate sales where I've been climbing through people's like barns and like, had run-ins with like brown recluse spiders and like gross,
Right.
like touch things that you're like, what is that substance? But I've found the coolest shit that makes me
Yeah.
so happy when I see it. And I think about how I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and like went on the hunt for something. And that brings me so much joy every time I look at something in my house that like reminds me of that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's what it is like us learning to encourage ourselves to just be in the process itself.
Yeah. To actually start the process instead of just saying, I can't ever do that.
Yeah.
You just do it once, just try it once, and then it just takes the illusion away from it, I think.
Mhm.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking
I
to
lo-
it.
I love it. I love your story. I think that's a great place to end it. And
Oh, you think it is, but here's
unless you have
something.
other things you want to share.
No, I don't have another thing I want to share, but we've talked about this a million times, and you brought it up, your vocal coaching. So I want you to give me one. I'm dying to do this. I don't know, just make me do something vocally.
Right now.
No, tomorrow morning. Yes, right now. I'm
Sure.
your vocal person, and just like show me what your like little world, like what does that even mean?
Totally. Okay, so I've worked with some people who want to take voice lessons for speech purposes, but most of the clients I have are for they want to be better singers, whether it's just like for themselves because they just want to sing, or they're actually pursuing it professionally. But my whole pedagogy basically starts with your
Your whole
breath.
what?
Pedagogy, like
What the fuck are you saying, Chicharone?
what your
Pedagony. Okay.
basically where you're the type of education that you're like your what your kind of theories are based in.
You are full on making words up. Go go
Yep,
ahead, go ahead,
just following
Pedagony.
here. Um, where I like
Pedagony.
I like to have everyone start with their breath, because
Okay.
your breath is your foundation for singing.
Yes.
You're not connected to
People
your
talk about breathing through your diaphragm. I cannot for the life of me figure out what that means.
Don't even worry about that at this point. Basically, what you need to think about is how deeply you're breathing, because as we know, we're so used to just breathing normally, like
Recreationally.
recreationally, like, as one does. And it's so shallow, right? Like we're just
Mhm.
kind of breathing here. We're not using our full lung
Okay.
capacity.
Got it.
Learning to feel what that feels like. And usually, how people put their hands on their ribs, kind of, I'll tilt this down a little bit, like here.
Mhm.
And
That's my
then
bone
just
shoulder.
kind of take a deep breath and see if you can push your ribs out into your hands.
Wait. Wait,
So you,
what? I'm taking a breath in and pushing my ribs?
yeah, so because your lungs will expand,
Oh.
right?
I'm a moron of the highest order. Okay. Okay.
So you
Oh,
take a
this feels weird. Okay.
breath in like that, and you get used to breathing like that firstly.
Okay.
So you just start to become aware of
Oh.
your breath
All
deeper.
right.
And
Roger that.
we do an exercise where you just lightly let that out in a hiss, like, and you don't push it, but we time it and see how long you can hold that hiss for, and then
Okay,
we
great. I want to get to a note.
upping the.
I want you to give me something to like a singing thing. Just like,
Well,
the me, something
I've
like that.
never heard you sing before, but we could do a vocal
Oh, I don't.
exercise if
Yeah.
you want to.
Yes, I want to.
Okay, let me turn my keyboard on.
I'm all here. This is, to me, this is the far more interesting part of this piece. Let's do it. Let's really embarrass me.
Podcast turned voice lesson for everyone to witness.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to plug my.
Let's actually, you know what? This is so fascinating because this is another thing where you could have a total bullshit job. And what if I'm calling you out right now? And what if you're a terrible singer?
It's okay. I only have a degree in vocal performance. It's fine. It's totally bullshit.
A lot of people have degrees and stuff, Danny.
That's true, actually. Aren't there like some schools where you can kind of make up your own?
Yeah.
I feel like they're all in like Vermont or New Hampshire.
Sure. Yeah. Connecticut, I think. Danbury.
Connecticut, yep. Well, let's see. Let's just see what your pitch matching is like. So, nice low deep breath in, like we just worked.
This is where I really want to disconnect the camera. Okay, go.
We're just gonna do just see if you can match that.
Are you gonna play the piano for me too?
Well, I can't play it at the same time because of the tiny delay. So
okay.
Match up. So I'm just gonna play that for you, and then you repeat it.
Okay, go. No, I don't want to do it. No, I don't. What if I just did this instead? What if I just see, now I'm just getting really nervous. Is this what people pay you to do?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, wait, I have stage fright. Is this what stage fright is?
Yep. Yeah. I actually feel like
so do I have to say ah?
Yep, so just on ah.
Don't look at me, close your eyes. Okay, I'm gonna be serious. Oh my God, no. That's terrifying. No, it's horrible. Okay, next.
So then we work up and down the scale to sort of get into ranges. So I would just keep you down.
Oh God. Okay, Barry White. What's the so I have to do it again? Oh. I don't like this anymore. This voice lesson is now officially over.
But yeah, this is the way a lot of people initially react. It's very
Oh my God, yes, it's terrifying.
Do something new first time, especially in front of someone who's watching you do it, who is a professional. Like, it can be intimidating.
Wow, that was really scary. I didn't like that.
You were great though. You matched.
Danny, shut your mouth hole.
Listen, I've had people do that and not be able to actually match that pitch, and it would take them a long time to get. So
okay, I'm sure, whatever. Okay, well, at least we know that I don't have to worry about a career in music. But the weird thing is that was, I feel like maybe you should incorporate that. If you're asking all these people about a first time, I'm coming in here as like some expert, which I don't claim to be anyway, but I feel like, ooh, that was just the first time doing something. If I'm sitting here saying, just go to a thrift store, just to pick something up, like, you should then turn around and say, all right, bitch, sing a scale. Maybe some Mariah Carey, hit the high note or whatever.
It reminds you of we are talking about like how it's so easy for us because we kind of live this lifestyle of shopping secondhand all the time and looking for things outside of the norm. But doing anything for the first time really humbles you.
Yeah.
It helps you remember how other people might feel doing the thing that you're used to doing.
Yeah.
And helps you be able to relate to them and kind of communicate it in a way that is more gentle, I don't
know about the gentle part, but here's something that this just made me realize, actually. So I wouldn't give two shits doing this in front of you if A, this wasn't being recorded, B, you couldn't see me, 3, I didn't think anybody else is going to see it. So there's all these things, right? But if we were just in your house or, sitting out having a margarita, I'd do it. But I think something that this just actually made me realize is everything is available for public consumption. Not only, we're just not going to just decorate a room, we're going to decorate it and put it on Instagram for everybody else to look and see. And so now that God, I'm really smart. Oh. So
That's what
anyway, welcome to my show, guys. I'm Kate Mills. This is called First Time for Everything. This is my assistant interviewer, Danny. She's not a sociologist, nor is she a chacharon, a Patagoniast. But it is true. Like, you also learn to almost feel maybe smaller, and your tolerance for risk maybe goes down, because back in the 1900s, when I was coming out, true story, when I learned to use Instagram, I was using Instagram because it put a filter on things, right? We've talked about this. Hipstamatic was the first app that I can remember putting a filter on things just for photography. So then Instagram came about, and I was just using it for pictures of my kids or whatever the fuck. I don't even know what I was using it for. And one day I opened it and I saw hearts. Like, I saw the like thing, and I had no idea that anybody could see what I was doing. No clue at all that it was public. So I feel like I was lucky enough to not bring this baggage with me. Do you know what I mean? I was creating, when the shop came about and when I was designing things. Also, there weren't very many trolls because it was so new. Trolling wasn't a thing. There was a lot of encouragement. And once you get a taste of that, it's different. But I was doing things for the joy of it, not for public consumption, and not because I wanted to get some kind of praise and adulation. So I think something that this just kind of really did make me realize is putting yourself out there now is really fucking scary. And you're judging yourself against the perfectly curated, perfectly voiced, you. And so now I feel already less than, because, oh my God, I just sounded like a fucking cat getting run over. But you know what I'm saying? But you get what I'm saying. So, like, I think our tolerance for risk is just smaller because we just think, oh, well, I have to open my mouth and it has to sound perfect,
that
because
is
someone's going to see it. Someone's going to look at it. Someone's going to make fun of me. Someone's going to drag me.
No, that's such a good point. I feel like I've almost had the kind of a bell curve sort of experience with that, and that I remember talking about this exact thing with my therapist last year, and I was saying that so much of my life has been performative, in that, like, I've spent so much of it on stage or
Right.
audition or practicing, in practice rooms in order to perform, and or in rehearsal spaces, whatever. And um it's actually something I've had to work on in myself, is to realize not everything has to be shared. Not every process has to be made public for people to consume. And that you may even have more creativity if you're not so worried about sharing it for a performance purpose or for someone to approve it, because you're just doing it for yourself. And I was saying to her, something I would love to do is be able to just make something and then throw it away and never let anyone else see it or experience it, because that means I would have made it just for me and for no one else to ever see. And also that I don't have to attach so much of myself to every single thing that I'm creating.
That that's a whole other, that really is a whole other podcast. And I'm so interested. I've watched so many documentaries about artists and creating for the sake of being creative. And that is something that is so fucking tough. And
Yeah.
I think, I bring my own baggage to that with age and wanting to feel like, I think there's a lot of things that are self-indulgent too. Like, I'm just going to be sitting here making art for myself to throw away. Like, shouldn't I be, I don't know, saving something or watering a plant, or, doing something for whatever the hell it is, cooking someone dinner? But it feels self-indulgent. So I think there's like the cycle. So, well, if I'm going to just do it for myself, that's so selfish. But it's like that, and the ego, and, it's a lot to really dig deep into once you are creative. Then it's a struggle of, am I good enough? Should I show this? Why do I have to show this? What do I care if somebody likes it? There's the creative process is fascinating to me, and why we do that. But I think just me singing to you kind of just made me realize that I think a lot of people don't want to try because the joy might be stripped away a little bit, because they think that someone's going to see it and make fun of them. And I will. I am going to make fun of it. I'm just kidding. I won't. I
Well,
probably will, but I won't. Not to your face.
I think something I've seen, I don't know, maybe this is a unique experience to like my relationship with my clients, but I think something that the opposite can happen, whereas like you can be afraid that people will criticize you, or you may end up getting really encouraged. And I've seen a lot of my students go from feeling like very shy, being very self-deprecating over the course of like months to becoming people who like believe in themselves and have actually gained.
Ah,
And it seems silly. It seems silly that like a scale could make someone change how they see themselves or see what they're capable of doing. But I think when I don't know, when you take chances on doing something just for yourself, I always say like I'm always so impressed with the adult students I have who take time out of their
no
life,
shit.
do something for themselves that no one may ever see, or that maybe they do want people to see, but it's like
Right.
they're something that purely brings them joy. And I think
Yeah.
like the whole process of discovering who you are and having your space be reflective of that
Hmm.
be a joyful process. And if you
Yes.
share it, great. If you don't want to share it, you definitely do not have to. Hopefully you just get to share it with the people who you share your space with, you know?
Right. But the one thing that is super important is the talking of your space. And once you get, I feel like once you set that up, I think your environment informs who you are and the risks you're willing to take. And I think it gives, I don't think it does. I know that it gives you confidence. And
Mhm.
I think that's something worth looking into.
Yeah. Amen and amen. For
Can I
sure.
get an amen? Wow, this was nice. I can't believe I had an epiphany. What's this podcast called again?
First time for everything.
Okay, starring Kate Mills. I like it. It's got a good ring to it. No, I had a good time. I didn't think that I was going to figure that out, but that was like a really vulnerable, disgustingly awkward moment. And I think you need to make everyone do that just to see how they react.
I
Because to
just
put someone in a place like that, oh,
tell them it was your idea so they can come back and be angry with you
no,
for,
I don't think a lot of people will do it. Do you think people do it? Even the breathing felt stupid.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, listen, I'm starting to exercise for the first time in like 97 years.
You look amazing.
And yeah, truly. And I had to text a friend of mine who I know is a Pilates instructor and say, what the fuck is a neutral pelvic floor? All this lady talks about on this app that I'm doing is finding my neutral pelvic area, neutral pelvis, which is a great name for a band, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for neutral pelvis. But I texted her and I said, what the fuck is a neutral pelvis? Where is my neutral pelvis? What is this? Like putting myself, so like it's the first time I'm sitting on my floor doing Pilates as like 100-year-old woman. And this lady is just telling me to find my neutral pelvis as if I just know what that is. And
Yeah,
then she said, well, Kate, it's like, so she said, the way that I think about it is lining up my hip bone with my pubic bone, to which I replied,
please
what's my,
elaborate.
where's my pubic bone? And she was like, you cannot, please, you can't be serious. But I'm totally serious. I don't know where my pubic bone is. I guess I could probably guess where it is, but there's probably more than one bone in that general area, maybe. But do you know what I'm saying? So it's like when you think about the first time and being vulnerable, I think we speak to people also in a way where we just assume you know what I know.
Mm.
But then when you're really faced with getting on the ground and finding your neutral pelvis or singing your little song, that whatever that was, that trickery that you just forced on me, and you're going to please auto tune that and make it sound flawless.
Right.
Do it. But once you are faced with that, then I think you're reminded of what a first time actually feels fucking scary and fucking awful. And it felt really good to be taken down a few notches, because I walk around here honestly like my shit does not stink and I'm the best fucking interior designer this goddamn world has ever seen, Danny.
Which
And
I
and
agree
now
with
I feel like shit about myself. So thanks for having me on today. I'm just kidding.
the audience to disagree with you on
No,
that.
but I think that's important. And I this was a lot of fun and I didn't have any expectations. I
so
say that in a loving way, but I'm glad. And I feel like I've actually got something to walk away with, thinking about how I need to take more, have more first times, because it's scary.
that's that's my goal. Honestly, I mean,
Now you can stop talking to me about this fucking show.
I, I know we need to get it together. I know everyone listening to this, basically, just like long story short, I had this idea for the show a couple years
By
ago,
everyone listening to this, do you mean your mom?
and we're every hey, listen, we've got to take risks,
Yeah,
and
right, yeah.
it happens, right? We don't know how
Right.
many people this will reach, but hopefully it reaches enough people that they'll hear other people's experiences of taking risks and want to
Yeah.
go. I just think it makes the world a more interesting place. I know I'm a way more interesting person having taken the risks that I have versus who I was when I wasn't willing to take those risks.
When you were just a little chicharron at your Patagonia escape retreat that you were doing. Danny, I love you infinitely. Thank you for having me. And
My pleasure. You are just the best, and
you're
I
right.
love every time
Thank
I
you.
see you. And I also want to squeeze your puppy very soon.
Oh yeah. Let's have a play date when it's not snow apocalypse.
Her face is going to be the picture that I post when I share this episode. She can be the
What
cover.
picture? Yeah, don't put my face in here. Nobody will listen. Auto tune that bitch too.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
So much. You're the best. And
I really don't know how to disconnect this. I've never, it's Henry.
and
You make it stop.
yeah. Okay.
Make it stop.
I know you guys are probably just as obsessed with Kate now as I always have been, but I'm so excited for you to just really look at your spaces with fresh eyes and hopefully feel inspired to make it reflective of who you are. You can follow Kate on Instagram for inspiration, humor, and to try and snatch up some of her really cool things that she lists for sale at Kate Kills It or on her website at katekillsit.com. If you don't mind rating and subscribing to our podcast, that would be so awesome. So you can know when we release new episodes and also help more people find out about our show and become first timers with us, right? Because it's super fun, hopefully. Our theme song is Living in a Rainbow by Royal Cinema, and First Time for Everything is produced by Two Sheilas Productions. Thank you guys so much for listening, and remember, it's never too late for your first time.